Welcome to Wellness and Wonder for another episode number 23. Today I'll be interviewing a very interesting and special person called Jeff, a person free of preconcepts and curious about life, an explorer who loves to see life from his perspective. We will talk about his lifestyle and especially about spirituality and what is connected to it. The benefits of a spiritual retreat in general, whether in nature or at home or with friends or strangers, are many. We learn to be with ourselves and to value the simple things in life, as well as to take care much more for others. After a spiritual retreat in general, people usually want to tell their experience and share it with others. However, not everyone is ready and prepared to grasp its meaning. A retreat basically is a departure from the usual commitments of life. And so we can basically, with Jeff today, dig deeper into the concept about all these things. That is about an experience. In our everyday life, we find ourselves involved in situations that trigger our anger. We come across situations who make us angry, and we have to face all these problems and events every day that sadden our personality in our personal life and professionally too. So in other words, we are constantly exposed to things or facts that make us feel unwell. Furthermore, we are victims of attachment, which, if we want to make it extreme, turns out to be an addiction. So a retreat, therefore, consists in temporarily moving away from what causes discomfort in order to learn to be with oneself, in this case, with the help of a qualified teacher who establishes rules to follow. And Jeff is an example of this because he's free from all the problems as he is living the best life ever. Welcome, Jeff. We can't wait to
Thank
hear
you.
your experience of life.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Hardly free of these problems. I'm on my journey and I want to inspire others to be on a journey and to have a path like you said. That was a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, I really feel all the things that I just said, and I suppose that we can be free from preconcepts even in a city. We don't necessarily need to travel around the world like you do, but this experience you're doing now can inspire many people because we should follow our desires in our everyday life, getting away from our problems. So, Jeff, where are you based now?
I'm in Georgia. Well, I'm nomadic. I've retained my badge of being a nomad even in the pandemic and even in the lockdowns and restrictions. It is so very ingrained in my like it's a core personality trait to want to explore and to be connected with the communities that really support me and that I feel lift my vibration as well. So it's something that I've unconsciously and now more consciously sought out, and so I continue to do that to be all over. But for now, in this month, September of 2021, I'm here in my home in Georgia, coming back from a wonderful trip in Mexico, in Puerto Vallarta, where I was helping a dear friend and teacher of mine with his training. And so that was really special as well. So I feel good. I feel like I'm getting more grounded and in my room, as you can see, in
Yeah.
Georgia.
I would say we can be dreamers only if we can be grounded too. Otherwise, we get lost. It's important to be
Exactly.
grounded and to dream at the same time. This balance
Yes,
is quite difficult, I would say.
of course. And it'll find its balance. Like in our lives, I think that everything ultimately will culminate to a balance. And the goal would be to be conscious, to be aware, to allow ourselves to grow in awareness. And one of the really beautiful things that you were sharing in the introduction and just now is about the life and the perception of our problems. And I use the air quotes for problems like that because the big transformation for me and that I've created in my life is a different relationship with problems, again air quotes, and understanding when we move ourselves from that place of being a victim, which is an addiction, like this attachment to um, things and having a certain way and the expectation that life is happening to us, the mindset that life is happening to us, we can transform that.
The
And it really
reaction.
takes the
Yes.
reaction.
Yes.
Exactly. And so in this alchemy process, this personal revolution, personal transformational process of understanding and looking at the world through different eyes, which, let's be honest, we've spent our whole life up till a certain moment looking at the world in a certain way with a certain perception. And the moment we start to transform that, the moment we start to open up with curiosity and look at things differently, can we start to see our role in creating our life? And that starts to dismantle this victim mentality, this idea that everything is happening to us and we are victims to the world at large.
Yes.
And the big part of that is understanding, look, here we are sitting together in a podcast having a conversation. Each one of us, this is a very unique singular event in this present moment. Each one of us led our entire lives to sit and be with each other in this moment. And
Absolutely.
so that same thought process can be applied to any moment. So if we're having an argument with somebody, or we're having a very difficult moment, challenging moment, the world is our life is not happening as we expected, then the question that can arise is, all right, I led my entire life. I'm here in this life. I'm responsible for this moment. I'm responsible for this moment. What can I learn from it? What is here for me of value? So it gets us out of that state of being triggered and reactive, like you're
Absolutely.
talking about. And what it does for me is it allows me to own it and say, okay, so I've brought this upon myself.
Yeah.
I did it. And then
And
everything becomes a teacher.
yes,
What were you going to
and
say?
Jeff, I wanted to tell you that, of course, people can always tell us when we say these things, what about the past? What about the future? For sure, our past and experience is our teacher. But if we focus more on the present instead of the past, then we don't waste time. So for sure, we don't have to forget our experience, but that's when we can say that is our teacher. So let's focus on the present, being aware of the past, dreaming the future. I always say
I
that.
love that.
Yeah. So,
Focus on the present, being aware of the past, creating the future.
yes,
I love it.
see, I always, that's because I had also so much sufferance within me in the past. I believe sufferance is self-created. I'm not saying that I'm a victim, that something bad happened to me, but because I was growing and I'm a very deep person naturally, I create sufferance within me. But I suppose I do this to grow. So once I understood,
Exactly.
yes, once I understood this, I realized that actually my sufferance was self-created. People must understand this. For sure, there are many different experiences of sufferance. I'm talking about me, but that's important to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's incredibly, like, let's think about it in terms of value, in terms of the quality of our life, the value of our life, the richness of our life. And I can assume for myself and for everyone else that we want to improve the quality of our life, the value of our life, the perception of this, the meaning that we're creating in our life. And it's the recognition that, okay, I'm creating this. I'm creating this experience. And as you said about the past, the present, and the future, is if we are operating from that fixed mindset that the world is happening to me, and what will happen is we will react according to our memory, and that memory, and it could be unconscious, like it often is unconscious, meaning what we think we're aware of in that moment is actually triggered by something much deeper and rooted in something in the past. And so the past is coming again. The past is, we're recreating the circumstances if we have yet to learn this lesson, and therefore um, we'll feel that suffering or that pain or that reaction.
Because
And the
unconsciously we are recreating the same moment without realizing it.
exactly,
Because guys,
yeah,
friends, and we know you know, but our thoughts become reality. They can be just be thoughts, but if they're deeply felt, they become reality.
yeah, exactly. It's the connection with the thought process and the
Yeah,
feeling, the emotion, the energy of it.
yeah,
So it's a blessing. Like, we can choose to look at the problems as blessings when like, it's totally a process of self-understanding, self-inquiry, challenging our beliefs. Because when we challenge our beliefs, we are taking what we think we know, which is rooted in the past, and saying, okay, well, this is a present moment. This is a present moment, and what do I really know?
Yeah.
All I know is what's here, what's now, what am I experiencing? And there's so many, like, meditation and these practices of really connecting to the present moment have taught me that there's so much of the unknown. And if I can become comfortable in that, and that's a skill of becoming comfortable in that, then I can really choose to be a co-creator, a conscious co-creator. And
Co-creator. Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
we love this word so much. And Jeff, why people are are not much aware of the spiritual world? They say this is fantasies, this is what about reality. People so many times misunderstand me when I talk much about spiritual world. But let's talk
Right,
about real spirituality, because we are
right.
made of spirit, so we are already spiritual. But people don't know, but everyone is spiritual in a way. So why it is beautiful being attached, not being attached, sorry, being passionate about spirituality and not much about the material world. Let's talk about
Yes.
sharing informations, for example. No one cares if I just bought a house, but everyone cares if I just had an amazing experience that changed my within. So it's also about
Mm,
sharing and being interesting, living situations fully, experiencing things, feeling it inside is being spiritual. And so it's so much more interesting to be spiritual than materialistic in this world, I suppose.
yeah, 100. Well, for me, 100%. And I
We
think
need both. We need both,
we need
maybe,
both.
but we need both. Yeah.
Well, we're in this human body, this vessel. So
Yeah.
it's innately attached to a material experience. So
Yeah.
if we go too much into the ether, then there's no reason for this body. So I really think that we're in this incarnation, this body, to learn whatever lessons that our soul wants to connect with, wants to learn, or wants to play in this three-dimensional field that we call human life. And the for me, and I'll start by saying I have definitely gone on a journey of being very material oriented, 3D, unconscious, unconnected with the present moment. In fact, not even really understanding what is the present moment. And so because I've gone on this journey of really understanding what it is to be present and knowing that experience in my body, and understanding that I did not know what that used to be, and all the transformational processes that led to that experience, and the ability now to be able to drop into that experience has greatly shaped how I perceive spirituality and how I perceive being a human, being Jeff, right?
Yeah.
Being this person in this life that's being co-created, right? And so a lot of the hang up that I can see based on my experience is the idea that we already have a thought process on what is spirituality. So this is taking us out of the present moment. It's saying I have a recollection, a memory of the past, of all the different feelings and ideas associated with what is spirituality. And maybe we grew up in a household that condoned or that belittled the idea of being spiritual because we were in that household so attached to, let's say, a religion or a
Yeah.
certain dogma,
This is
something that
an
says,
attachment anyway.
yeah, exactly. And that's the big recognition is that it is an attachment. And we can have malleability, we can create flexibility and
Flexibility.
dexterity around the words that we use, that because we don't have to define ourselves with a word.
Yeah.
We can be bigger than a word. And a big part of what I teach people is recognizing how we do use words in a limiting way because we're attached to a certain definition. And this modality, this mechanism of curiosity, which is an experience, it's an opening up, it's the availability to the present moment, is
Of
saying,
letting
okay,
in.
so
Yeah.
yes, receptivity, and saying, look, I use this word spirituality, or you're hearing this word spirituality. What are the feelings and thoughts associated with that? What are you feeling right now? And for you guys listening. And so when you depart from the conversation and go inward and say, okay, so they're talking about spirituality, what are my associations with that? That's you getting into yourself, into the present moment, and recognizing, is there stickiness? Is there a hang up? Is there a previous conception around what it is? And can I open myself up to be curious, to be open, to explore,
So
and
important.
allow this information that's being exchanged through this medium to allow my mind and my attention to explore different possibilities and experiences. And so understanding that I came from a place of not really understanding what the present moment is, to really, and I want to tell a story about that too,
Yeah.
to really understanding what it is to be present has allowed me a lot more
Yeah.
space in my life, in my mind, in my perception, to open up to curiosity, to create my own dialogue, create my own ideas about what it is, and let that be mine. Let
Jeff,
that be mine. Yeah.
absolutely. But because people often say, okay, we talk about freedom, we talk about detachment, what about our routine? I cannot explore as you do, for example, Jess, because I have my routine and I'm stuck in it. That's why it's important to have a visual and a visual of what is, beautiful, even though we have this routine, and to have a purpose help us to, even if we have our routine, to be spiritual. So I would say that the purpose between within us, it's an escape. It's not an escape, is the force that help us to be spiritual, even if you're stuck in the routine. Do you agree? So we can have the worst routine ever in our everyday life, living in a city, but if we have a purpose, a mission that relies in our heart and is made of love and of beautiful things, beautiful for us, indeed, help us to do not suffer within our routine. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. I really believe that even if our material needs are met, our, and this is dependent, I think, also on individuals and their personalities, because some people are like, their personality is very much oriented towards a routine, towards a structure, towards a material life,
Mm,
and that's okay.
that's
And I
okay.
know that there's other people that are lifting themselves out of that and exploring deeper experiences, more expansive experiences. And so even with this, I think that, let's say in our modern society, in many of our cities, that the vast majority of people have their needs met. Their needs are met. Their food, shelter, the very basic needs are met. And without purpose, without a sense of purpose or mission and orientation in life, it can be hell. It can
Can
be
be help.
hell. Like
Can be help.
it can be a ton of suffering, because the soul wants that. The soul,
Yeah.
we're using this word soul, right? Because there's something inside of us that, like, we want to capture it with words, but it's really a feeling. It's like that something wants to be expressed.
Yeah.
And there's one of the important and valuable things of being human is to create and to express in this life. And so having an outlet, an avenue in that is the lever. It is the lever that takes us from that hell and puts us into a mission, into being guided, into feeling spiritual. And so, like you said,
Yes.
the routine or the structure, or the external environment, which is a lot of the times we think that is what we would be dependent on to have a happy moment or a sad moment, is the externality. But freedom, really, real freedom, is an inner
Yeah.
experience.
That's
It's an inner experience. So we think that we're free if we have the ability to go work and live within the construct of society, and yet we can be psychologically enslaved on ideas and ideals and the way things should be, that is permeating through media, through culture, and everything else. So
absolutely.
if we're completely externally um, connected with how things ought to be on an external basis, then we're still not free,
No.
because our mind becomes a slave, because we're constantly looking for that information to reinforce that identity and that structure, and we're stuck. So that's another experience of being not free. And so the next place to go for that is to go inward and start to peel back, where am I keeping myself in a cage
Okay.
in terms of my ideas? What is the information that I'm attached to, that I need to believe, that I need to see in order to feel safe? And a lot of it comes around fear. A lot of it comes around fear, because the moment we step into real freedom, that we
Fears
must
and
take
habits, I would
responsibility.
say. Yes.
Huh? It's a
Fears
habit.
and habits, both.
Fears and habits.
Yeah.
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 So, like I said before, the culmination of really connecting with what is the present moment and the infiniteness of the present moment, like everything is happening in this present moment in many dimensions. The question we can ask ourselves, am I a human being having a spiritual experience, or am I a spiritual being on many dimensions having a human experience? Am I living a human experience right now? And for me, that's more accurate. Am I a spiritual being in many different dimensions that I'm conscious and unconscious of having this human experience or creating this human experience, right?
I
And then
love
when
what
we,
you just said, Jeff. I love
yeah,
what you just said.
thank
Feeling
you.
a spiritual person, being a spiritual person, relating as a human being, it's so much easier because we know we have this power, but we have to relate to this world. So
Hmm.
we adapt because adaptation and flexibility, like we said, is part of our life. It's important.
Yes, exactly. And adaptation, we adapt from pain at a physiological and biological level. We are deeply, deeply conditioned to adapt from pain, and we have the opportunity to recognize we can adapt from higher vibrations. We can adapt from a place of joy or pleasure or beauty. So those are also available there. And we have to look at how we adapt from pain, because that's one of the richest, most valuable things that we have if we choose to go on that journey. And for me, I lived in a very uh, caged life, or feeling pressure, or feeling not connected with a purpose for many years. And it was in this sense of pain or suffering that I started my journey, because I felt constantly there had to be something more. There has to be something more to this. Is this it? Is the kind of questions that I was feeling and asking myself. And it's a very, very empty feeling for me to ask, is this it? Do I know it all? Is this it? And there's no mystery. And the
Absolutely.
beauty and the juice of life is in the mystery. It's in the unknown. If we choose to have that relationship with the unknown, such that it's pregnant with possibility.
We
So
are completely
possibility is
open.
there.
Yes, we become completely
Exactly.
open, Jeff. What do we feel so open when we do the same things every day? No, when we explore a place we never been to, that's when we feel excited. The
Yeah,
unknown is so exciting.
exactly.
Yeah,
Travel has been a huge teacher for me. I grew up in a very like a conservative, closed-minded house with a lot of conditioning, a lot of ideas about what is, how things should be, how people should be. This word should is a cage in of itself, whether we use it for others or for ourselves. And the thing, I'm very grateful for the ability to have studied abroad and to have felt the magic of exploring different cultures, and having my perceptions challenged, like how I thought, based on what I was conditioned to believe the world was like, to how my experience is, and seeing that there's a difference
yeah,
there. These are not lining up. And so, what else am I believing unconsciously that can be opened up to more freedom and exploring different ideas about what it is through experience? Like travel is a tremendous experience. And one of the interesting things that I see is a lot of people will travel and live exactly the same routine or life wherever they go. And I think to myself, well, you could have done that at home. Why are you taking your whole life with you to this place and just doing the same things? Like where's the new and exciting adventure there? And this is comes to the beautiful proverb of wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are. And I really learned this from experience in my life, that
yeah,
it, I've thought many times that if I left a place or started something new, that everything would be better and it would be different. And the reality is if we aren't meeting ourselves where we are in the present moment, then we're going to carry all of that stuff, the baggage, with us where we are, and we'll create the exact same circumstances in that new place. So it's
yeah,
the willingness to meet ourselves where we are in the present moment, and then see the world, because that's when the world becomes a mystery. That's when there is the unknown. That's where the capability of co-creating is. Doesn't
absolutely.
matter the external environment. It does not. So the allowing ourselves the process to find that within. So that's something that I've created and I've experienced within. That's something I feel deeply connected with. That if I am present, when I am present, I am then in a place to co-create, and the world becomes a magical mystery,
Yeah,
and I'm free. I feel that sense of freedom. So that has been years in the making for me of allowing myself to pull back the layers of conditioning in my life, growing up the way I grew up, thinking I should be this way and I should have this job and have, that salary, and the cookie cutter, the fundamental premise of our society today, which is based on security. And we have to really allow ourselves to explore our insecurities, to
yeah.
to deepen the experience of life.
To
And that,
go,
and then go
yeah,
ahead.
to go out of our comfort zone, because that's where magic is. I will never forget what a
Yeah.
teacher by the beach in Greece this summer told me, Jeff. So it's true, but let's remind people that, of course, if we cannot travel all our life like you do, we can travel with our mind. We don't stick to the same
Yes.
things every day. We meet
Yes.
different people, so we can travel in many ways. Of course, you are an example of an explorer, Jeff, but it's important for people to understand that we can travel in many other ways. Different books, different experiences, yoga, different meditation experiences, even in a city, like we said. I want to precise this because most of our guests are not travelers, but it's important to feel this magic in traveling in any ways, not only like Jeff, of course, is lucky to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And how do we, so I want you to know, the person listening to this, that what she said is absolutely true, is that it does not matter the external environment. So traveling, yeah, traveling is great. It's mind opening, but we can access that here wherever we are, and
Yeah.
it's not necessary. And I know that it's a part of my personality deeply to want to get out of there, to explore, right?
Yes.
And it's the same thing though with the people who are listening who do travel. It's that same understanding that you're going to take who you are and your whole package with you and wherever you go. So
Wherever you go.
unless you access that ability, whether you're staying in one place or going all over the place, to really look at ourselves, and I want to talk about some practices that have supported me in that.
Please
Well, we
share it
will,
with us, Jeff.
yeah, we will stay in that same vibration, that same pattern, that same loop of our life, because our mind is looking, we've conditioned our mind in a conditioned state, is looking for reinforcement, and that's the ego. We're looking for reinforcement on the life that we have created, that we think is reality. And so unless we start to dismantle that mechanism, that conditioning, we're going to perceive and experience that same reality in many different ways, but it's the same pattern, it's the same vibration. So we want to transcend that. We want to break the pattern. One of the great, I think it's a Joe Dispenza book, who's a profound meditation teacher. Break the
Yeah.
pattern of being yourself. Break the pattern of believing you are who you think you are, and believe, really start to dive into what is this function of belief, and how does that mechanism, that function of believing, transform my life? And do I have agency? Do I have choice and freedom over what I believe, right? So that there's a lot in that. And the practice that has allowed me the greatest ability to transform and to know myself, which is the most valuable piece of this puzzle, and I'm still exploring, by the way, still exploring who I am and who's this human experience, right?
Yes.
And and the question arises, am I Jeff as an identity? Am I Jeff, or am I the ability to create Jeff, right? So
Yeah.
it's two different ways of looking at it. And again, that comes back to the victim and creator. The victim versus the creators. The victim thinks, I am Jeff and I am stuck here and this is who I am, etc. And the creator says, I'm the ability to make Jeff. There's a lot of tools that I can learn and explore in order to be a more powerful co-creator. And the biggest tool for me is to be present, to recognize the value of the present moment, right? To be here now. And I want to say that again, I came from a place of being fully disconnected with what that even means. So I want you to know that if you have some idea, some notion of what is the present moment, I want there to be an opening, a curiosity about that. Because in my early phases of transformation, I was reading a lot of books about self-development and mindset and habits and creation. And the through line, one of the main through lines of those books was the value of being present. And I remember being disconnected with that. I remember asking my dad one day in the house, what's the value? I notice all of these books are talking about the present moment. What's so important about the present moment? And then the next words out of my mouth are the ones that really show me how disconnected I was. What I said then was, I'm here, aren't I? I'm present. How could I not be present? And it's because I was identified with myself as a body and not a
Absolutely.
spirit, and not even recognizing my mind and my body
And your
connection.
powers, your inner powers, your
Exactly.
strength. Yes,
So
absolutely.
what I failed to realize in that moment was an awareness, this very important word, an awareness, that if my thoughts, my mind, my attention, another very valuable word, isn't here experiencing what is through my senses, if, let's say, I'm caught up in the future or distracted in the past or thinking distracted by thought, I am out of my present moment. And that's what yoga eventually led me towards being more present to, more aware
Experiences,
of.
absolutely, Jeff. I want to say that experiencing things in general using our senses, because most of the people,
Yes,
many people are doing yoga, but they miss the creativity. So I'm a chef, health coach, and many other things. But
beautiful.
what I used to do was to organize these experiences that were sensorial. So to awaken the senses of people, I think is so important, because to cure depression, actually, we can teach people how to be creative, because creativity cures depression, in my opinion. So if you don't want to do yoga, if it's maybe a bit boring for you, you can cook, you can smell things, you can
Yes,
experience things with your senses: smell, taste, hands. The touch is very important. So
yes.
I can see that during your experiences, you cook a lot with amazing ingredients, Jeff. You use
Mm,
cacao, you use these roots, you use many ingredients that are not very well known, also because, of course, you travel in many different places, wild places. So you do these things. So you organize these
exactly.
experiences along meditation and yoga, which is incredible, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, what you say, just it brings me to the idea of this, of life, is we can access more of this by understanding it's a mindful practice. And mindfulness, and this is a word that's become much more available in the mainstream, mindfulness is our ability to connect with our experience in the present moment. So the smells of the food, or the sound of the birds, or the taste of the food, or the taste of the air, or the feeling of air on our skin, whatever it is, we
Yes,
can connect with that. And the ability to expand, so grow and be able to access that sense of being mindful and present even more, comes with the developing this faculty, this mechanism of awareness. So the awareness piece is our ability to observe ourselves, and the observer is completely detached. The observer is simply seeing, and we all have this faculty of higher mind to really be witness to what it is we are experiencing. And the more we can connect with that, the more present we are, and the more
yeah.
that is available to experience through our senses as well is there.
So a
So
suggestion from Jeff and I is, if you don't know how to focus, start cooking, start using your hands, start to create painting, drawing, writing. So maybe, yes, writing is even more deep because it makes you think, but to escape
yes,
your thoughts, you should uh, create artistic things, create whatever you want, create.
yes. Well, there's the incredible uh, old, thousands years old saying from Latin, art for the sake of art, art for the sake of art, creativity for the sake of being creative. And I think in our society, we have this idea that what I create needs to be of material value. Otherwise, I'm worthless. So our sense of self-worth is attached to what we're creating, and it's distorted by the idea that we have to create something of monetary value. So I'm
Absolutely.
not using myself properly if I'm not creating something that I can sell, or that is, or that
that is
brings me some other.
that is going to be
Mhm.
profitable in terms of money. But let's
Yeah,
remember that satisfaction is more important than
exactly.
success.
Exactly.
I read this beautiful quote last time, that satisfaction is really what makes us happy, not success, because success is related to others, while satisfaction is personal, is about us.
Yes,
So
that's it.
yeah,
So create simply for the act of manifesting this sense of satisfaction.
yeah,
Now, remember that we've created our lives up to this moment, and the rest is up to us. And we've also been the architects of this conditioning in our life. So that can come down to how we wake up in the morning. When do we brush our teeth, or what do we eat, or how do we exercise and move our bodies, or how do we show up for our work? Like, there's a lot of layers to that.
yeah,
And this idea that I was very disconnected from, and it's this simple statement of pay attention, that I, until I recognized what it is to be present,
yeah,
and still exploring that, the idea of what really is paying attention eluded me. And so we can start by simply becoming more mindful in the moment, paying attention to what is the life I'm co-creating, and what are the actions that I'm doing in my life, what seeds are they sowing. So what is that intent behind that? And a lot of the intention is to be safe and secure, because at an animalistic, at a very deeply biological level, that's what we want, but we can grow and expand much further past that. And the what goes past that for the human being is this creativity, is this ability to
yeah,
create and explore, and then that's why we feel satisfied. So the
absolutely.
reward, the biological, the higher evolution of us, the reward there is a sense of satisfaction, of purpose, of meaning, of self-worth, of enjoying this life. And so we can create that. And it's the big piece to that for me is all of us making a practice of meeting ourselves where we are instead of the where we should be, and
Yes,
start where we are, because a lot of us have created a life unconsciously based on our parents, based on society's expectations, et cetera, that is lending itself to the experience of whatever cage we think we're in.
yeah,
And so if we start to utilize this paying attention to what is my intention and what I'm doing and acting upon, and what are the seeds that I'm planting, and is that aligned, with what I want to create? So
yes,
if I'm having these behaviors that I've deeply conditioned myself, if they're creating this life that I'm unsatisfied with, there's no satisfaction, then I have to recognize. And by the way, when we do this, we're welcoming in the pain of realizing we're living a life that is unaligned with what we want. And so there's a pain there. There's a suffering. The moment we connect with that awareness of this life I've created is not satisfying,
yes,
and that pain and that suffering is incredibly valuable, because that's the transformation, that's the driver of transformation to change, because we are neuroplastically um, conditioned into habits, and the way our mind and the way our brain uh, creates habits is simply a manifestation of what we are doing habitually, and we're building those neural pathways. So change can come at a price, and it's the ability for us to look and to engage in that. Well, in this case, and again, there's other cases for accessing joy and creating change through joy and through these higher elevated experiences, but I really believe that the most accessible way is to become aware of this sense of suffering that we've created in this life is not satisfying, so that it can motivate our change. It can motivate our change. And we can start to look at the habits that we have accrued in our life and create a different, so taking one step at a time. That's why it's so important for us to meet ourselves where we are, so that we can take one step at a time. Otherwise, if we try to be a different person tomorrow and we realize that we have the weight, the magnitude, the gravity of all these different patterns and conditioning, is just going to pull us right back to where we
yes,
were, and
yes,
there's going to be more pain there. So one step at a time is how we create change. That's the most practical way to create change, and the ability for you to to say, where am I and what is the different seed I want to plant today, and how do I take that over the next 3 days, and then the next 2 weeks, and then for 30
Yes,
days, and start
and
to create change little pieces at a time, huh?
yes, Jeff, and of course, being ambitious is very important, but being ambitious for what we want, not for what others want. So it's
Yeah,
important
exactly.
to make a change. New beginnings are always so exciting. Being ambitious is so important, but being present also. So of course, it's difficult to follow all this, but it's very important what we are saying. Thank you, Jeff.
We can we can get that sense of satisfaction in the present moment.
Yes,
Whatever life we're living, if we can learn to train ourselves to meet the present moment, that satisfaction is there.
yes,
It's there. That's why we talk about, the cooking, the creativity, because we are being present with that. That's why it's satisfying.
so
And then
satisfying.
when we finish that, right? When we That's why it's so much more about the process and the journey than the outcome. Because we get to the end destination, what we think is the end destination, and oftentimes we're left with a sense of, is this it? Or I is this isn't what I expected it to be. So if I can marry my attention to being present with what I'm creating, then that satisfaction is there. The presence is there, and recognizing it never was about the end destination. It never was.
Never was in it, it's never been about the destination. Destination is death. What are we talking about? It's about our
Yeah,
life is a journey. Let's not forget this. We don't want to reach
yes,
the destination at all. It's all about the
exactly.
journey, and life is a cycle. It's made of cycles, can always change. So like Jeff said, if we are present and if we have satisfaction in the moment, in our present, that's pure happiness. Less expectations, because expectations are always a trouble. We always expect something to be in a way, but it is never the same way as we expected, because this is life. And so
Right.
we're always disappointed. For what reason? We create our own sufferance again.
Yes.
So yeah.
So what can we do? What can we do to be more present, more mindful? And a big part of that, so that we can access a more joyful life, a more satisfying life, is a big part of that is simply being with myself more often in a healthy way. And so meditating is really powerful for me. I've been meditating daily for years.
And
And
to
now
receive
meditation.
love, sorry if I interrupt you, Jeff, but I believe
Uh-huh.
receiving love and giving love
Oh,
is
yes.
because most of the many people are focusing only on themselves to find happiness. But I truly believe that happiness, of course, is within us, but it's about love. And love is a sharing, is a giving and receiving energy.
Yes, absolutely. And our ability to be receptive. So that's again coming back to this experience. How receptive am I? How what is my ability to uptake? And this word uptake is really important, because it really is saying, how much can I immerse myself in the present moment? And then the idea of, like, there's a reciprocity to, it's a law of nature that when we give from a place of love, like you're saying, in that simple giving, we are also can receive that can be there.
Yeah.
So that creates even more for ourselves, and not even waiting for something external to come back to us. Simply in the giving, the
Yes.
love is there, and the experience of love is there. So that is beautiful. Yes.
See, Jeff. So many techniques. So what do you do to be present? Again, because that's happiness, that's satisfaction. What's a technique, a more technical technique? Because it's very personal indeed. So how can we suggest people to be mindful? We've been talking during our sessions at Wellness and Wonder a lot about this, but I suppose that you have many other experiences to share. So
Mm,
what's the technique that you use to be present apart what we just said? So for
yeah.
example, I know you are in love with a beautiful woman. How are you
Hmm.
able to be present with your half, or it's all about yourself? Because can we be present with people around us, people that we love, or it's more about us, our own
Hmm.
self? What do you think?
Yes. Well, I think ultimately our individuality that we are seeking to express in this life. And the beautiful people we attract into our lives are going to show us who we are. And they're going to show us as a mirror, and the
Yeah.
ability to take that and learn and to contribute to that relationship is a faculty. It's a function of our engagement in life. And so I think that the most valuable life to live is one where I'm fully engaged, and that's being in the place of co-creator. And you asked about what are the more practical techniques, and to start that conversation, to make it very practical, even the conversation, is to start to open up my relationship with the words attention, and intention.
I love
So
it.
my what I had, the one thing I really believe, the one thing we have control over. We think we have control over a lot of things. We try to manipulate the world so that our perception of control grows, because that's security, that's safety. But really, the one thing we have control over is where we are putting our attention, where I'm putting my focus, my attention. And where I put my attention, I energy is there. So our attention is uh, our our energy. So where I put my focus, I create manifestation. If we want to make a garden, our attention goes to getting the soil right and planting the seeds and watering the seeds, and a garden grows. So that energy went into that, and something was manifested. So paying attention to where is my focus going. So opening up that word, whatever your idea of paying attention and the idea of the word attention is, start to open it up and realize it's a present moment experience. Where am I directing my attention? And then what comes before that, what drives that, is something when we get more deeper into knowing ourselves, we realize there's intention, there's a motive, there's what are we trying to make happen, or to create and to manifest in this world, and how is that intrinsic? Is that coming from my spirit, from my desires? Or is that, again, a faculty of the conditioning? Just asking ourselves the question, am I pleasing society? Am I pleasing my parents? Am I pleasing my loved one? Is this behavior in order to satisfy that, rather than to satisfy myself? Because again, satisfaction happens in the present moment, us being with us. That's it. That's the one condition for really satisfying, is meeting ourselves in the present moment. Doesn't matter if there's tremendous amount of grief or pain or struggle. If I can meet myself in the present moment, even in the midst of a big storm in my life, there is satisfaction there. I promise. That's something I've experienced many times. And so the practice that is most accessible towards developing this relationship with attention and intention is a practice of meditation. So meditation can take many forms. It can be going for a walk, it can be cooking, it can be doing a creative thing, it can be
Yes.
practicing yoga. It can also be sitting down and finding stillness.
Yes.
And so finding stillness, okay, stillness is there. Everything else that is causing us to fidget and move and um, distract is what's possible that we can peel back. So paying attention to that, and having a relationship with our mind such that our mind is not an enemy. It's not an enemy, and it's not us. My thoughts are not me. My thoughts are just what is the, if I choose to put my attention into my field of thought, then I'm going to experience thought. And that's how we can create the future, is we can put our attention on thoughts around the future and what we want to create, and then our energy is going there. So again, attention is energy. Cultivating the relationship with what our thoughts are, so that I can detach, and realize I am not my thoughts. I can come into a different experience. I can put my attention somewhere else. So in our society today, we are very much in our head. We are in our head. And there's the statement of get out of your head, get out of your head. And so language becomes incredibly important in this, because when I say get out of your head, your attention goes to I'm in my head. I'm in my head. So we stay in the head. So then where do I want to put my attention becomes the question. If I'm in my head, where do I want to put my attention? And then the next place I can relate to is, let me put my attention, let me get into my body. Let me feel what I'm feeling right now in this moment, because then I get out of my head. And then we start to realize, okay, I can be in my head, or I can be in my body. I
Yes.
can be in the field of thoughts, or I can be in the field of emotion, or even deeper experiences. So understanding there's the relationship to do, and the faculty between the two is where we are putting our attention.
Yeah.
And a very powerful exercise for this in meditation is simply focusing on the breath. If I focus on my breath, meaning I put my attention towards the experience of each inhale and each exhale, first of all, I want you to know that 99.9999% of us are completely taking that for granted, because the experience of one single breath can be as expansive as everything, as expansive as the present moment. And so if I start to take for granted what it is my breath, then I already know that I am not putting my full attention towards the experience of a breath. So we have even more attention that we can put to this present moment, and the breath itself becomes the bridge between getting out of our head and getting into our body. The breath helps us regulate our nervous system from a state of anxious, worried, conflict, stress, right?
Yeah,
Into a state of being able to take a full deep breath and to be situated in our life in a more
yeah.
present way and more relaxed way. So we could have a whole nother 45-minute conversation about the nervous system and how we can modulate through our attention to breath, getting out of our head and into our body and into a more relaxed state,
Yeah,
which allows us automatically to be more receptive to the world
I'm
with
sure.
us. So
Yes, I'm sure
go,
you know the
yeah.
story of the Iceman, Jeff. The
Wim Hof,
Iceman.
yeah,
Yes,
of course.
I love watching his videos where he says, and it's incredible the breath working techniques, how powerful they are. If you think about swimming in a cold ocean, but not feeling the sufferance of the cold water, imagine the power we have. And so it
Yes.
is not invented, it is real. So practicing, it's fundamental if we want to reach this state of mind, this state of our body, this state of
Yeah,
magical things. Practicing is fundamental. So let's not victimize, let's practice more.
absolutely. I love it.
Yes. Jeff, we're talking already since 50 minutes, and I love talking to you. But before the end of these sessions, first of all, I would love to talk to you again. If you want, once you are in nature, maybe we can make a Zoom call with the phone, so to show people what you do, what you see, because I
All
really
for it.
love your lifestyle. I would love you to share an experience that you lately did in nature. What is something that impressed your mind and heart?
Hmm. Every morning when I'm here, when I get up, one of the first things I do is I just go walk into the yard and I look at the flowers. I've planted some flowers
Wow.
and they've grown up on some metal scaffolding, and they're morning glories. And it's one of my favorite flowers. They're beautiful, incredibly beautiful. So I take time to simply go look at them and revel, revel, soak up their beautiful colors, and watching the bees going in from one to the next one and seeing that, like, that really miracle life and the satisfaction that came from planting those seeds, from the desire to have those flowers to the manifestation of them is so beautiful. And
It's like,
that's a really simple one. It doesn't have to be more than that, you know?
yeah, it's like us. We are born as a little seed, germs inside of our mom, and then we are born, and then we need water, love, and experiences to grow, energies to grow. It's like nature. So if we water
We
it
are
every day,
nature.
we are nature, absolutely. But we always forget this. So
Yeah.
to water your flower, to give water to your flowers and see them growing, it's really magical. I feel what you say, because I grew up in the countryside and I did the same. And that's why I believe for us it's more easy to understand the soul and the spiritual world more than people that live out of nature. But to do these experiences, little ones, can make us think even more.
Go spend time in nature. Go walking in nature is a very powerful practice of integrating. So we take ourselves away from the constant stimulus. We have information bombarding us um, from many different directions. We have a screen always less than 2 feet away from our face. And so how can I take myself away from that and reconnect with nature? Because what nature has taught me, and what my practice of coming home to the present moment has taught me, is we really are nature. We humans, the biggest kind of illusion in our experience of being human is that we are separate from nature. That's so funny. Like, that's a fact. That's an ego. That's the perception that we are separate. And
Yes.
really everything that we can see while in nature, going for a walk in the woods, connecting with the water at the beach or the lake, or just seeing the trees in our neighborhood. It's like everything that we can see in nature is a metaphor for
It's our
this
medicine.
human life. It
Yeah,
is, it's medicine, and it teaches us. Nature is an incredible teacher because we are teachers. We're learning from ourselves because we are teachers.
absolutely.
We are nature, and we are not separate.
Yeah. Why farmers are so wise? I grew up in the countryside with these
Of
amazing
course.
farmers working in these beautiful fields, and I found them always so wise. But they, of course, they don't have the knowledge. Maybe, they didn't have the teaching that we had, but they know so much because of the contact they have with nature. Nature gives
Yes.
us so much information we don't even notice it. Just is maybe it can be just energetical, but it is everything.
Hmm.
We feel
Absolutely.
rejuvenated after have been in nature. This is the first thing we see. After being in nature, we feel better, even within ourselves, aesthetically. It's
I
incredible.
certainly do. You're in
Yeah.
London, right?
Yes, Jeff. I
My
love
favorite.
it.
So when I lived in London, I lived in London for a year and a half, and I lived really close to Richmond Park. And I would go in. Richmond Park is
It's beautiful.
amazing. It's incredible.
It's
So if you have the time to get on the bus or the tube or ride a bike, even better, over to Richmond Park or Hampstead Heath, or any of these beautiful places in
yeah.
London, so amazing.
I go every
Take
day.
three
Actually,
hours.
I go
Oh,
every day.
really?
Yes.
Amazing. I would too.
Yes, I love every park because I'm very lucky I do work in an office, even though I work within myself and for projects of my own every day. For me, if I don't spend at least 2 hours in nature, I die within. It's so important for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I feel
yes,
that.
that's why you are an example, Jeff. And if you want to share your Instagram page for our friends and guests, I would be grateful. What's your Instagram page name?
Absolutely. So you can follow me
And your
personally.
website? Yeah.
Yes, at Hefe underscore AF. Now, Hefe is a nickname and it's the name of my brand. It's spelled JEFE, and the Instagram is at JEFE underscore AF. And you can also follow my brand's page, Hefe Living, JEFE underscore living. And my website is hefeliving.com. And it's my platform. It's the platform I'm creating and continuing to evolve around meditation, around offering and creating these experiences with others, retreats, trainings, courses, everything that I'm doing. You can find information there. And soon I'm creating more content that actually will live on this platform that people can access as well.
So exciting, Jeff.
Practice
So
starts with
practice,
practice.
practice.
Exactly.
Jeff, I would love to do another session with you while you explore things, if it's possible. I know connection can be a
Yes,
problem, but we will figure it out. We
we'll
can do
figure
it.
it out.
We will figure it out because I truly believe you're an example, and I love what you said. Jeff, we love your energy. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Likewise.
Really.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. I'm sorry we have
Awesome.
to close this session. So
That's
our guest,
okay.
because it is otherwise too long, but we'll do others for sure.
That's
So
right.
see you soon, and for another episode at Wellness and Wonder coming out soon. Bye, everyone.
We'll see you soon.
See you soon.